Welcome to Talksicology, brought to you by Recovery Unplugged, the place where we talk about all things substance abuse, recovery, and mental health, with guests offering varying perspectives and viewpoints. Hosts Joseph Gordo and Jason Cabello share about their addiction and recovery and other serious subject matter through lighthearted yet candid conversation.
I think I did the first one. You by default should do this one.
Okay, you don't want to...
One,
Just
two.
kidding. Welcome to Talksicology, folks. The best podcast in the known universe about recovery, addiction, mental health. We talk about some other stuff, too.
Talk about music. We talk
about music. Talk about whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever we have the hankering to talk about.
Yeah. Well, I got a hankering for talking.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, you've come to the right place. So, Joseph Gordo,
Yes.
LCDC?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Licensed chemical dependency counselor.
So you are a learned man.
Yes, I have. The state of Texas believes that I'm capable of treating substance abuse and alcohol issues.
Okay, so did you graduate high school on time? Did you go to college immediately? What was your education?
I graduated high school on time, barely.
Okay.
I don't think I've told you the story. I almost, so I had yearbook as a class my senior year.
Wow.
And
you majored in yearbook?
Part of your grade is selling ads for the back of the yearbook, which I refused to because I did not want to participate in this capitalistic.
Yeah, you're fucking punk rock, man.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. And about a week before graduation, my yearbook teacher pulls me and she says, "Hey, look, you are going to fail yearbook if you don't sell an ad. You have to sell a full page of ads if you want to graduate." And I was like, oh, shit. So what I did is I had about 48 hours and I went around begging money from everybody and writing down their names on a piece of paper. And in 48 hours, I raised, I don't know, a couple $100 that I needed to buy the page in the yearbook. And so in my senior yearbook, there's a picture of me asleep in my yearbook class with just a list of names of all the people that helped me to graduate high school.
Wow.
Anyway, graduated high school barely, went straight to college, dropped out 2, maybe 3 times of college. And then I was a music major, then a poli-sci major. Then when I got sober, I went became a counseling major.
Okay,
Did that whole thing and took a test and did some hours. And yeah,
nice.
That's what I did.
Yeah, my schooling is just, I don't think I've told you about this either. So I was never a good student. Like we've talked about my ADHD.
Yeah.
I could sit there I remember this one time my family went on vacation and they had given me some homework to take with me. And my uncle is there helping me with like some math work, which math has never been my thing. And he could not get me to focus to even, he was giving me the answers and saying like, just write this number down. And like, I couldn't even get that. But for me with school, so, I was kind of a punk, kind of a little,
Rebel.
I didn't care. School is never a priority for me.
Were you Antifa?
What's that?
Were you Antifa?
No, but I do have some friends that were on not what Antifa is labeled as now on the news, but some actual like anti-fascist skinhead guys.
Yeah.
And stuff. Anyway, so when I was 17, I found out that I was getting Social Security checks from my stepfather passing away because he had adopted me. And that as long as I stayed in school, I would still get the checks until I was 19. As I told you before, I was in the compassionately labeled emotional handicap classes. So I could not get kicked out of school. They couldn't kick me out as long as I showed up.
And were emotionally handicapped.
I think it was 2 days a month I had to show up for school to not get kicked out. So I would show up to school 2 or 3 days, go to one class, go to lunch, and then collect my check. And then
Fat Social Security.
Yeah, and then the day I turned 19, I got out of school and got that out of the way. And then, started on my journey. Yeah. Fast forward, after I finally get clean at 42 years old and decide to go back to school, they're like, okay, so do you have a high school diploma? Do you have a GED? And I fucking lied and got away with it. So I got to graduate college without ever getting a high school diploma.
That's right, because you were like, I'm 42. Obviously, I graduated.
That's what I said. That's what I said. I was like, I got a GED in 1992. I don't carry it around with me. These records aren't
You
like...
don't frame the GED and put it up on the fucking wall.
And this was before computers. I'm sure it's not on a record. I'm like, you believe me, right? And ladies probably, it's like, yeah, whatever. I just didn't want to deal with it. So, yeah. So,
I bet you the lady was just like, I've seen dumber people graduate from high school. You're good.
And yeah, maybe.
And then you went to college and you became a videographer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did a little film and television production school, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And it scared the shit out of me when I got in because I'm not very computer savvy. And I get in there and I see, young people on computers, and I see what a timeline looks like. And I called my sponsor and I was like, I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna stop and maybe go back to culinary school. And he was like, no, you're staying.
See, if you'd gone back to culinary, probably food technology has progressed to where you would have been like,
yeah.
What do I do? It's an oven?
What is this technology to shuck an oyster?
But that's what you do. We never talk about it, but like, this is not our job at Recovery Unplugged. You are the videographer. You do all our video.
Yeah, do some commercials, do some music videos, do a lot of social media content.
Yeah.
The life-saving stuff.
Yeah, the life-saving stuff. Yeah.
And you?
My title's real weird, but basically I run the facilities in Austin, and I also try to help get people into treatment. And yeah, that's what I do. I get to work with all our counselors and our operations guys and our nurses, and I get to kind of touch every part of what goes in to giving somebody what is hopefully a fantastic treatment experience.
At Recovery Unplugged, which is the greatest treatment center in the known universe.
I think it's pretty gnarly.
And the only one that utilizes music.
Yes.
In all modalities of treatment.
Everything.
How does that work?
There's a lot of different ways that we use music, and all. I mean, some days there's a band coming in. Some days we're trying to help clients write songs. Sometimes it's just like, hey, what's a song that can tell me how you're feeling right now, since you seem incapable of finding the words, which happens to all of us, and all kinds of stuff like that.
FAQ, which stands for frequently asked question. Yes. Is it music therapy?
It is not music therapy.
Do you have to be a musician to benefit from Recovery Unplugged?
No, if you are a human that is not a sociopath, that is impacted by music, then you would benefit from Recovery Unplugged.
Are you turning away all sociopaths now?
I mean, when we can spot them. They're hard to spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could be one, and I don't know. I could be sitting across from one.
I might be. Yeah. When I worked with the sex offender adolescent children, they were all sociopaths, but we're not going to go down that road because it's dark.
That sounds pretty okay.
It's dark.
Moving right along. I know exactly where the advertisement for Recovery Unplugged stopped in that conversation.
Yeah. But you know what? What's cool though is like you and I both are folks who did not succeed at the traditional path that people think is success, right? Like we didn't go from high school to college to a career,
No.
And despite those bumps in the roads, I feel like we're pretty. We're doing all right.
In all honesty, all jokes aside, I love my life.
I love my life too.
I absolutely cannot. I was a big keeping up appearances guy.
Yeah.
So I wanted all my friends to think I was killing it.
Yeah.
If they took one look at me back then, you've seen pictures of me when I was using. I was not killing anything except for my chances for a future.
Yeah.
But I used to just, lie and fabricate about all these things that I had going on. And I couldn't have lied about a life that was as full and meaningful as it is now. Like, I live in fucking Austin, Texas. I make videos for a living. I get to do like a podcast and interview.
Great girlfriend.
Amazing girlfriend.
Just moved to a better part of town.
We're going to Vancouver, British Columbia this weekend.
Able to cross international borders.
Fingers crossed. I don't know if they're going to let me in. So she surprises me with these vacations and where we're going to go. And so she told me that I had to get a passport or my passport renewed, whatever. It's been a long time. And then we were hanging out a couple weeks ago with guest of the show, Carlos Truon.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, where are you guys going for your vacation? And I'm like, oh, we're going to Vancouver. And he was like, which Vancouver? I said, Canada. And he's like, they're not going to let you in, Holmes. I was like, I didn't even think about that. Fuck, I got some dirt back there. But
Oh, you've been there. That's right. You used to work up there.
well,
Canada.
well, I've been there before, but I have some, a checkered past.
Yeah.
And not sure if they're going to let me in. So I called the consulate. We checked everything. It seems like, because they're big into the rehabilitation. So if you did some shit, DUIs, they're not kindly. They do not take kindly to people who had DUIs. They will probably not let you in. That was not my case. I had a bunch of other stuff, but it was over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So let's
So no harm, no foul.
knock on this wood that they let me into Canada.
Well, look, as two individuals with a checkered past who have made it to a happy, fulfilled life in recovery, we should start talking about today's guest, who is a wonderful man who also has a bit of a checkered past and a couple bumps in the road, but now leads a really cool life. And someone who I met actually in my early recovery, so probably 13 years, like 2009, sound about right? Yeah.
Wow.
And this is a guy who, in addition to being in recovery, is someone who fully gets himself in the middle of recovery, does a ton of service work, is working not only to build his recovery, but a community of recovery where he lives. And he drove in from Kerrville, Texas.
Oh,
You've heard me talk about Kerrville.
Yeah.
So without further ado, my friend, man in recovery, fellow Kervert, Mr. Larry Moe.
Poof.
Hey,
Not to be confused with boof.
Woo.
not at all.
Where did we just teleport you from?
Kerrville,
Kerrville, Texas.
Kerrville, Texas.
Yeah, once you get teleported, you never want to make that drive ever again.
No, not
much
at all.
You don't get pulled over when you're teleported either.
No, you don't need a front license plate. You don't need to be aware that it's there or that it's not.
So you got pulled over on your way
Yeah.
here.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did. And it's one of the little things in life, not worried about it.
Yeah.
Driving up to the cop, there's always still the feeling he's going to pull out behind me. As soon as I passed him, pulled out behind me.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I'm on the map. Is it because I'm on the phone in Fredericksburg? What's going on?
Yeah.
He just walked up and asked where my license plate was. And I looked confused because I was, what? He said, you're supposed to have a front license. But no, I get that. And then I remembered where it was. I was doing some tree clearing at one of my little client's house, and I got lazy. Didn't want to use the chainsaw. Didn't want to hook up the chain. There were some deader trees, and I was pushing them with the bumper of my truck. Knocked it off out there. And he said, all right, get it fixed when you get to town. And I hit the road.
You have a nice day.
That's it. I have no intentions of writing you a citation, Mr. Mosley. And by your reaction, I could tell that you didn't know it was there, so we're
Look
good.
at that.
Gifts of recovery.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's in our last episode we were talking about how like probation's super easy if you're sober, but like interacting with cops, not a big deal. You know? Either you're gonna give me a ticket or you're not, but I know I'm not going to jail.
I still pee a little in my pants if I see a car behind me, if it's a cop car.
But Larry, welcome to the show. Thanks for making the drive up here.
Yeah, man.
It's I was really excited. I've been thinking about it for a couple of days leading into this episode, just because like you and I, most of the people I know in Austin today, like were not around like in my beginning. They weren't around for the origin story. And it's not all the time that I get to see people that like, man, like, we were on the struggle bus together, in different sober livings, but like doing the same deal, working minimum wage jobs,
Do you guys have about the same amount of
Not
sober
at
time?
all.
No?
Not anymore. At one point we did.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I was probably like a year ahead of you. When'd you get to Kerrville?
I got to Kerrville April 09.
Okay, and I got there July 08.
Okay.
Yeah. But so I'm going to fill in how I remember things and you tell me, right? So like I'd been in Kerrville about, I guess 10 months, 9 months, something like that. This would have been right around when Chelsea got pregnant with our first kid. But I was like working at Mamacita's, which is like, if you're waiting tables in Kerrville, Texas, that's like the spot you want to wait tables at. And still very much in that, like, everybody I know lives in sober living bubble. Meetings 7 days a week.
It's a very social time in life. Like
Yeah.
if you live somewhere where there are meetings and,
Yeah.
and you've done the sober living thing.
And I met Larry at the 720 Club in Kerrville, Texas, which is one of the meeting houses. And I remember most of the blue ticket meeting around that time. There was this meeting where you couldn't volunteer to share. You had a raffle ticket. Yeah, and it was kind of cool. Because then it was like God decided who would share. But I just remember Larry coming into that meeting, and it's like, not a lot of people of color in Kerrville, Texas, let alone with big old gauge deers. And you, I think you had just gotten to town, but you just started spitting some of that recovery fire. And it was like, who is this dude that just like walked in here? And you were running or living at the Black Diamond?
No,
That's
that
the 4D.
at the beginning I was living at Lofo
Lost and Found.
with old Dan.
Yeah.
Captain Dan, Lieutenant Dan.
Yeah.
We didn't start Black Diamond until August of 09.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just after that, it's just like a bunch of memories of like you at the Black Diamond, hanging out on the porch, the big old slip and slide party that one year where they built that slip and slide down the hill at like Black Diamond 2.
See, I had left.
You were already gone
Before
by
that.
then. Yeah.
The one on Ranchero got condemned by the EPA.
Yeah. Sober living condemned by the Environmental Protection Agency.
How so?
There was a lot. It was these, like, you pull into this driveway, a little U-shaped driveway. It was 2 sets of duplex houses, A, B, C, and D. Single family homes, mind you. B and C were the 4th dimension.
Yeah.
And the D house became the Black Diamond. Then we took over all 3 of them. And Buddy Cody decided he wanted to pack them with bunk beds. So we had like 21 to 27 guys topped out. And and all of these 4 houses ran to 1 septic. So that was an issue already.
Yeah.
And then he got some snakes from an auction.
I
Every
remember
house had snakes.
He voluntarily had snakes there?
We had 2 ball pythons in the D house, 2 red-tailed boas in the C house, and there was already a little ball python in the B house. Right about the time that I left, he started doing something, trying to get breeder rats so that he didn't have to spend money on feeding these, self-sufficient in any way possible.
If there's money to be saved, Cody's gonna find it.
Cody's gonna find it.
Shout out Cody Live.
And they took off, and it just got bad. And it was because
With the rats.
with the rats and the water and the septic and the living conditions, because all the sober homes have to be up to code for the city, fire alarms, extinguishers, all that stuff. But Ranchero Road was right on the edge of that.
Yeah.
So
Heading out towards Medina.
heading out towards Medina. So that none of that mattered. So we just ran wild, and so did everything else.
All of those ingredients, snakes, rats, bunk beds, septic tanks. That sounds like a layer of hell to me.
But guys
got sober.
Hey, and that it was, and see, this was a lot of people didn't and still don't even know that 20 months I was in Kerrville, I was really relapsing every 3 months.
Shut up.
You see, you still
I didn't
even
know that.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to your story.
man.
We jumped right into some shit there,
Yeah.
but let's get to the origin story. Where are you from?
I'm from Corpus.
2 Corpus in one day.
2 Corpus one day.
Corpitos.
Jarico.
Yeah. Our last guest was from Rockport.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So, grew up in Corpus. We like to talk about the ism before the alcohol.
Okay.
Right? So were you one of those guys that was pretty okay till you started using, or was
I was weird. It was. I wasn't necessarily like depressed or locked myself in the room, But I knew I was always different.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and if we're going to origins, you know, first day of kindergarten, hanging out at recess, go play with all the kids, go to lunch, go sit at the table with the kids. This girl, I don't know if I should blast her name, but I'll never forget it. She said, "You can't sit here, Blackie." And it was like, whoa, what does that mean?
Not a lot of diversity in South Texas.
But my family was diverse. You know, my family's East Indian.
Yeah.
My mom's got black kids. I got white cousins, black cousins, Mexican cousins. So it's like that wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
You know, started wilding out about second grade quickly. Once I learned I can do things and the consequence wasn't so bad. Oh, she's going to hit me if I do get in trouble at school. Third or fourth grade, I got my own special desk for ISS. It wasn't even in the ISS room. It was in, and that's when my identity, my ego really started, because in the office, they started calling me Mr. Mosley. And it was like, oh, Mr. Mosley's back again.
So you had to be separated from the other ISS children. That is a distinction.
It was Principal Reinecke, Assistant Principal Reinecke was the first one. I forgot the newer one, but here's my desk. Her office is right here, and we maintained eye contact for most of the day.
So what kind of trouble were you getting in on a daily basis to get put in this special desk, Mr. Mosley?
Were you selling drugs? What were you doing?
Yet.
Low pops?
Just a lot of smart mouthing.
Yeah.
Class clowning, you know. That was really the most of it. Talking back, not doing what I was supposed to do because my grades were exceptional. Yeah. So it was like, so what's the problem here? You know, I'm going to do what I want. And it was mostly the back talk and real smart alecky.
Yeah.
Being real witty.
You were sassing them.
Sassing the
But
hell out of
I'd imagine, too, as a repeat offender, the bar was probably pretty low for you to get in trouble. Like any little thing, it was just like, all right, back again.
Yeah.
Whereas another kid could probably say the same thing that you had just said, and they would probably be like, okay, we'll let this one go. But
yeah. It was that was a big deal. Yeah. And I was a bad influence on my little sister and my little cousin.
Yeah.
We had this one teacher. My little sister didn't like that she was mean to my cousin and myself. And the teacher had real bad asthma, and we all grew up with asthma. So my sister knows perfume, cologne makes asthma trigger. So she went to class one day, doused in perfume to trigger this lady's asthma attack. You know?
Oh my God!
Just a little group of hellions.
That's chemical warfare at that point, right?
Quick, yeah. Sixth grade was I was a nerd, weirdo. You know, had this big ass afro, dude.
In Laredo, all the weird kids were referred to as the freaks. You know, whether you were goth or punk or metalhead or whatever, it was the freaks. The freaks. Yeah.
Piratas.
Los frikis.
Los freakies.
And then that's when the pod started, seventh grade. You know, sixth grade, I had this big afro. I was still real weird, wanting to fit in. You know, I heard you talking about making up these lies. I just had to make every lie up I could so that you would think I'm cool to accept me in your group. But Mom, of course, still dressed me. You remember those pants? They look like denim. But they were
stretchy. Yeah.
We had to tuck in our shirts at school. And I used to do the fold over because I didn't want anybody to see that, because I knew that was a nerdy thing.
Yeah.
Seventh grade, start hanging with a group of guys, Hispanics mostly. And one of them's cousin was like, bro, you can't kick it with us looking like that.
Yeah.
So I did this. I shaved the sides of my hair, put relaxer in this huge afro and slicked it back. Got some Dickies, got some shell toe Adidas, and this became, this is the look.
Yeah.
This is how I'm
That's a uniform, yeah.
Yeah. This was early 2000s, you know, started smoking pot with buddies. And it was funny, the early start of the deal, because my grandma, back in the day, she was one of the leading adolescent drug abuse counselors in South Texas.
Was she like in PADAP, involved in all that?
PADAP, the Council of La Raza down in Corpus, Shoreline out in Taft.
Yeah.
You know, she was in it. Her name was known. She was out there.
Yeah.
You know, and she she did everything she could to keep us from this way of life.
Yeah.
And just started smoking pot, sneaking it in a little bit, wanting to fit in. I think I said I didn't feel different, but I just wanted to fit in.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
So I have to assume that there's a period of time where like it was pretty fun. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't any consequences. You know, you're doing what kids do in South Texas in high school, right?
There was always home consequences. My mom, I couldn't do anything fun because, like, my mom would grab me and my buddy that were always smoking pot, take us to the friend's house we smoked pot with, tell their parents, hey, your son has drugs, and he gave them to my son and his friend.
Yeah.
You know, she would call the cops and send them to every party I was at, you know. It just made it real tough.
Yeah.
But the real consequences started around 16-ish.
Yeah.
Started drinking at school right when the alcohol started.
Yeah.
You know, it was always just pot, hanging out. And then I started drinking with the varsity football players. And a lot of truancy. Like in Corpus, I don't know if it's all Texas, but in the Corpus School District, to get your driver's permit in high school, you have to have like a 93% attendance rate back then. I had a 5% attendance rate.
That'd be enough to get you a Social Security check.
Yeah.
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 If you were
Yeah.
emotionally handicapped.
I probably was by then, you know. But it still wasn't really dire consequences, man. My assistant principal just didn't like putting up with me. He knew I liked to that I would cause no trouble if I was in the ag shop welding all day. So I would go to math, English, PE, because I'd been kicked off the football team. And I'd stay in the ag shop all day long. That was it. Only reason I went to math and English was because those teachers loved the hell out of me.
Yeah.
They saw something in me that I didn't know was there.
Yeah.
You know, drinking. I had this belt buckle flask. It was filled with Everclear at all times. At all times. Chewing Copenhagen, walking around, doing whatever I want.
So I was thinking about this recently too, because I would carry a flask around, but it's not that big. Like, did you have a refill station that you could keep on doing? Because I mean, I would
locker
bring
room.
Yeah, okay, but you had a bigger bottle that you because that used to piss me off all the time. I'd buy a flask and then be able to sneak it into shows, and then 3 minutes in, I'm like, my fucking flask.
Yeah, but I think also you're thinking like from an adult perspective, where it's like Larry's talking about like sophomore year of high school.
First and second sophomore year.
Fair enough.
You know, I started fighting.
Yeah.
That's when things started changing.
Why?
I found out I was pretty good at it.
Yeah.
You know, I got in my first fight, and then that was part of the ego. Someone down the line dubbed this Larry fucking Mosley.
Yeah.
You know, you talked about consequences.
Yeah.
They enforced this real strict dress code this one year. Flat black or white shoelaces, couldn't have round ones. If so, you had to call your parents to bring you new shoes. You could swap the laces out. Plain color clothes, no fancy belt buckles, no weird. I came to school with this crazy fucking orange hair, Gatorade caps in my ears, a pink shirt, camouflage jeans, Vans, Dr. T's, purple, yellow, and red, green laces, and a camo backpack. And somebody was like, where I was coming out the locker room, and Buddy said, they didn't tell you anything about what you're wearing? And I said, not at all. He said, oh, that's right. You're Larry fucking Mosley.
Yeah.
Boom. This is who I am.
You've arrived.
That's where I arrived. In that moment right there, everything after that was Larry fucking Mosley.
Yeah. So like almost like this narrative of like the rules don't apply to me. Just because of who I am, I can do things that other people can't.
And you don't necessarily want to skate by. You want to make a show of it.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
You know, I'd started dabbling in cocaine at the time.
Yeah.
Just walking. I went to snoop around in my sister's room, and I lifted the mattress and found a nudie magazine and a bunch of bags of cocaine. I don't know what this really is, but I'm taking it. I know you snort it, and that's what I walked around school in my pocket, snorting cocaine whenever I wanted, drinking. Nobody said shit. The security guards didn't mess with me.
Yeah.
You know, it was But mom was still doing the stuff mom did.
Yeah.
You know, one time I had a call on the speakers all around the school. Mosley, come to my office now. I knew what principal it was. I went straight into his office. He said, Mosley, your fucking mom is in your sophomore English class and you're not. Fix that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I walked in class like nothing, no consequence. Shit, this part of the show, you know?
See, and I think this is kind of an important distinction to make is, you know, because a lot of times when we're working with people who have addictions, right, and even you, like, just in service work capacity, right, we end up talking to families, right, and a lot of them think that they did something wrong, that they have tried harder if they had done this or they had done that. Like, what did I do to make my kid like this? And it sounds like your mom and your grandma, like, they did everything right.
Yeah.
You know, they were on top of you. They were trying to keep you on the straight and narrow, and it just...
Well, Grandma,
wasn't
I just
taken.
got chills. Grandma passed at 16.
Yeah.
And that's when all bets were off.
Yeah.
After that, it was all day, every day. You know, I had a birthday party one time, and three of my homies were there. Two of them stopped at the door and said, "Hey, is that lady's name fucking Brenda?" And I said, "Yeah." They were like, "Dude, it's my fucking drug counselor." You know? And mom would always, "It's your friends. You need to stop hanging." And the whole time, it's like, motherfucker, this is my doing.
Yeah.
You know, I started this show.
Yeah.
I run this show.
Yeah.
I'm not following my friends. I'm the leader of this nonsense.
Yeah.
You know, king of fools.
That ego again. Yeah.
And that's where somewhere along the line meth started, you know, pretty quick. And it was with the meth and everything else, it was always your word, oblivion.
Yeah.
You know, my first time doing it, 9 days up, I thought this is how it goes.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I'm chasing. Same with my drinking, oblivion.
Yeah.
I'm going to go around the corner, throw up, somebody sees it so I could drink all night long, put on the show.
Yeah.
Beat everybody up, put on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Blow fireballs, Everclear fireballs, looking like a fucking sideshow freak. And, you know, that got me shot at 19.
Yeah.
Where'd you get hit?
Right here.
Oh shit.
So I mean, unpack that.
Okay.
How do you? You weren't just blowing a fireball and someone was like, "I'm
Nah.
gonna shoot that fucking guy."
This started, I had 3 months from November 06 to May 07. I was on life support. Quit like
Yeah.
that. And I was at a house party and being the bully that I am, you know, and I was... Do you remember Clayton Bigsby?
Yeah.
I put on a Clayton Bigsby kind of show a lot
Yeah.
of times. Growing up in Corpus, went to school with a lot of white kids.
Yeah.
I was the only token black guy of this group. The rest of you gotta go.
Yeah.
And there was a buddy of mine that I grew up with in high school, and he brought someone outside of our crowd, and I didn't like that. And I'd already been kicked out of this person's house before, the host, for beating up one of his friends.
Yeah.
And I started a fight with this new guy. And a lot of it got real blurry for a little bit because I was so drunk, but I'm actually back friends again with the guy that shot me.
Wow.
Yeah. But the new guy was walking, and there was another guy there that I'd known since
Wait,
kindergarten.
and so the new guy, you mentioned that you were like the token black guy. So was the new guy also black?
It was 3 other black guys at the party.
Yeah.
And,
And that was your territory.
That was my territory. So one guy I actually grew up with since like kindergarten.
Yeah.
One of those black guys. We actually got in trouble in first grade for having a slapping match in the restroom. His dad came to school and beat the shit out of him in the nurse's office. But we're walking out, and that guy's up in the front, and he turns around. I see the other 2 guys, and they're like, "What are you doing?" Or I asked them, "What are y'all doing?" They're like, "This is our homeboy. We came with him. We're going to ride with him." And I said, "If y'all want to do it like that, we could." And I knew there was a big old band of huge-ass corn-fed white boys behind me with their shirts off, ready to roll.
Yeah.
And they got out the way. Me and the guy went to get at it. Something happened, and I called it off.
Yeah.
I was basically like, "Look, I'm going to beat the shit out of you. My homeboys are going to come stomp you out when I'm done. So let's just try this again next week. Nobody knows you. Leave, come back." The way I remembered it was we were walking back to the party. The guy with the gun came out from the side, said something. I had said something back, and some girl from the crowd said, "Ooh, they both hit the gun." And because the first guy pulled the gun out.
Yeah.
He acted like he had it, and I went straight everybody said they saw the switch because these guys didn't know that I like to hang out with my bro and his big brother and these gangsters in the streets when I'm not with them because I wanted to be like those guys. And they said they saw something in me switch.
Yeah.
As soon as he went like that, I slid up on him.
Yeah.
You act like you got something, you better pull it. You pull it, you better use it. He pulled it out, put it out to the side, and I was like, I'm not scared, bro. You know? He cocked it and pointed it at me, and that's where this Larry fucking Mosley, this is my show. Leaned into it, fucking do it. Put it on my head, fucking do it, like a movie, you know?
You're a
and
maniac,
he didn't do
man.
it. That was my thing. I was a maniac.
Yeah.
And he left. Well, I remembered the other guy coming out with the gun, me saying something to him. Some girl from the crowd saying, ooh, they both had the gun, and he made them both look like bitches. Pow! After I'd made amends with both of these gentlemen, and the guy that shot me actually called me back in January out of the blue.
You went and made amends to the guy that shot you.
I made it via text.
Okay.
It just popped up in my head and heart one day in 2019 when I got out of prison. Around Christmas time, I was just like, I put these guys' life at risk. They could have gone to prison if I would have died for life probably, or for a long period of time because of my actions. And that's wrong of me. I almost took them away from their kids, from their wives, from their moms, from their families because of my doing, and that's fucked up.
Wow.
I made amends to them for that. So the one that shot me actually called me in January out of nowhere, and he just wanted to chat. You know, we inevitably went back to that day. Yeah. And I said, I still don't even know exactly what happened. He said, man, you was wildin', bro. You was a gorilla back then, you know. He said they were splitting, walking the other way, and I saw the gun and started running my mouth again, trying to hype them up to raise the gun at me again.
Yeah.
He was like, Mosley, stop. And I just took off on both of them.
Yeah.
Just fighting the shit out of them. And he said, I just jumped back and squeezed the trigger, dude. Yeah. And I wasn't trying to shoot you. I just wanted it to stop.
Yeah.
But I saw that black dot on your chest and was like, fuck.
Yeah.
You know? And he said, you were a fucking gorilla back then, dude. There was nothing that could have stopped you except that.
So you had some pretty heavy consequences coming at you real young, right? Like getting shot, ICU for 3 months or whatever it was. At what point does it start to enter your mind of like, maybe I need to change some things in my life and maybe it's the drugs?
Early 08.
Okay.
No, early 09. February 09.
Yeah.
That's when I was sick of it. You know, to get off of the meth, I started smoking crack. Everybody says I did it backwards, but I know if I do a bunch of this crack, I won't smoke this meth. So I think I'm good.
Well, usually people smoke a little meth to get off of a bunch of crack, but okay.
And that's what, so I did that forever. It was crack and Everclear.
Yeah.
That was it. Suicide attempt after suicide attempt after suicide attempt. And I had this weird night where I cut the shit out of myself with a serrated kitchen knife, you know. And I was just tired. I got tired. I tried committing suicide with crack because I don't know how my TV always ended up on ESPN Classic when I was smoking, but it always did with no volume. I think it might have been the old NASCAR races I was watching. I don't know. But there was this documentary on athletes that had died from crack overdoses in the 80s and 90s. Yeah. So I tried that. And I wrote a letter, got a whole bunch of crack, put on Giving Up by Linkin Park. This is my suicide song. Put it on repeat and tried back to back to back until I died. Blacked out, didn't work. I was like, well, fuck. You know, this has to stop. And it wasn't, I didn't really think about the drugs. It was just like, I need something.
Something's got to change.
Something's got to change. I had an iPhone 3G because that's when they first came out. And I got it back in 2008 in Fort Lauderdale. Smoked crack in Fort Lauderdale.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Small world.
Was there for work, found the hood, wandered in. found a guy. That was it. But there's a treatment center in Corpus. I looked up Rehab, crack rehab or something. I don't know. I found this treatment center in Corpus. I went.
Bayview?
It's Bayview, but at the time it switched its name to Padre Behavioral Hospital. Okay. That was, I think it switched for like 2 or 3 years, but it went back to
Want to
Bayview.
make people think it was down south on the island.
Yeah, I went there. I checked in, called my mom, called my girlfriend, called the other girl, called my sisters. I'm like, hey, I'm here. I'm done. Once the dope wore off, I kind of didn't want to be there anymore.
Mm-hmm. Shocker.
Crazy how that happens.
Because the intake was taking forever. And the family was like, nah, dude, you're staying. You're staying here. You know? It was miserable as shit. I didn't know what was going on. It was the kind of place where there were a lot of well-intended people, but they knew not what the fuck they were doing with someone like me.
Yeah.
Like, I used to work, my mom was in the Army. My dad was in the Army. So I wore a lot of camo all the time. Camo, Under Armour, black shirts, camo.
Yeah.
They called my mom. I had to call my mom to bring bright colored shirts because I'm smoking crack the way I do because I wear camouflage to hide my emotions and feelings from the rest of the world. So I think I'm hiding from you by wearing this camo so I don't have to share my feelings with you.
Oh, it's like this big metaphor.
Oh,
so,
my God.
Yeah.
And I think that's something we haven't really talked about on this show is that like the power of like someone in recovery working with somebody else, like it's something that years of school, doctors, therapists, priests, counselors, they can't quite get to that.
There's a link that's missing there.
Yeah.
You know? Silkworth talks about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's there's just something not there.
Yeah.
They mean well.
Right.
They mean so well,
Yeah.
but there's something that they don't have.
Yeah.
And got out of there, found some NA meetings, found a dude that actually got sober at the adolescent program at Starlight a few years before. Asked him to sponsor me. Couldn't stop smoking crack.
Wait, was he an Irish kid?
No. Okay. Was he? No. He went there probably late 08.
Okay.
And started going to NA meetings. You know? Couldn't stop smoking crack. Tried to hide it. Everybody knew. Nobody said shit.
With the camouflage?
With the camouflage.
The camouflage.
With the camouflage. Yeah. But I remember asking him, I'm like, bro, when are we going to start the step work? And he was like, dude, just chill. It didn't take, he said that one of those cliches, you didn't get
become
sick
an addict
overnight.
in one day, so you're not
gonna get better in one day.
Some of that NA stuff.
No, you shut up,
He
you.
was like, just keep coming to meetings. I'm like, bro, I don't want to. He said, just come anyway. I'm fucking high. Come anyway. You know? And this went on and on and on. And it was fucking miserable. And the elaborate stories I would do to try to make people believe I wasn't doing that. Like, Corpus has a little outside town, Flower Bluff. They got a tattoo shop there.
The Bluff Rats.
The Bluff Rats. Different. It's like it's Kerrville's Ingram.
Yeah.
But I went out there, spent $400 on a tattoo so that when my mom and sisters were like, where the fuck were you at? We were calling. Man, I was in the Bluff getting a fucking tattoo. You know, I was driving around Flower Bluff because I didn't want anybody in Corpus to see me.
Yeah.
I was terrified.
Yeah.
You know, everybody knows it's me. Fuck. Miserable. But this is when the change first started. He reached out to Todd, fucking Double D.
Yeah.
Got me a bed set up. My mom had reached out to him. They got me a bed set up. I came over one day. I was supposed to move into a house with them. I didn't because I was smoking crack. Part of the rules. And he was like, I need to talk to you. Come in the room. I said, okay. So are you scared? Of what? What the fuck is wrong with you? He said, so you remember that place I told you about, Starlight? I was like, yeah. He said, how would you feel about going there? Oh, you motherfucker. you dirty, rotten piece of shit. He said, there's a bed there for you, dude. You need help. And I went home, told my mom some shit like, hey, you know, I just need to go to meetings. It's going to be okay. Jacob told me I could just go to meetings. They're like, no, motherfucker, your bag's packed. You got to go.
You're going.
You're going. We're done with you. We're not going to talk to you if you don't go now.
And fun fact, that was like, in my personal opinion, like the glory days of Starlight.
Yeah.
So Todd, who did his admission, did my admission, and we had Christine Calvert, Rob Park, Maureen Hagan, Steve Thomason, Brian Samford,
Steve Marcy.
Steve Marcy was working out there. He was my wife's counselor. All these cats that like have gone on to now basically like run treatment in Texas.
Yeah.
You know, guys that own facilities, that run facilities. We're all like interns at Starlight.
Tex.
Yeah, Tex. It was a good time at Starlight.
Yeah. And this is, when I went, this was one of those things I ask a lot of guys when we first sit down to go through step work.
Yeah.
Why the fuck did you go to treatment? Did you go to treatment because you wanted to be done for good and for all, or because your family set you up with a bed? Because when I went, I didn't want to go.
Right.
I didn't want to be sober, you know, but I went to go. I went, did the whole thing, met Ernest.
Yeah.
He said to tell you hi, by the way.
Shout out Ernest Tasby.
Whoop, whoop.
Who's Ernest?
Ernest was
One of the other colored folks.
He was the token black guy in Kerrville before Larry Moe. And Ernest was someone who was unapologetic in his accountability for folks. And I loved, when I worked at Starlight, I loved having clients and being like, we're going to call Ernest for you, sir. And he was someone that we were on the steering committee or whatever it's called for Blue Ticket, me and Ernest at the same time. And we used to have very different opinions on how that group should run. And it was like this mutual respect for the opinionated.
Yeah. And when I talked to him about coming out here, he said, I don't like that motherfucker. I don't, and that motherfucker never liked me. He said, but there's one thing that I know. If I need any fucking thing in the world, Joseph Gordo's going to fucking be there. So you tell him I love him when you see him.
Yeah, we respect the fuck out of each other, but we were never like bros.
Yeah,
you know?
he made that very clear.
And those are the kind of relationships you could have in recovery.
Yeah.
You know, the principles before personalities type thing. Honestly.
Yeah, hell yeah. I went through there. I met Ernest, got a sponsor, Marcus, Big Marcus.
Yeah. I sponsored Marcus one time. Because I was mean to him outside a meeting, and he was like, be my sponsor, please.
Good fucking guy.
Yeah.
Doing great. I got out of there and got fucking high. Went home to get my truck and my clothes to come back to Lost and Found. Supposed to come in and do a UA, move into the house. Remembered I had a bank account with Prosperity Bank, who I owe millions to. That one keeps popping up when I see him.
Yeah.
Emptied it out, and $563. I remember it exactly. Got a bunch of dope.
That's a
smoked
nice
all the way up
lick.
there.
That's a nice lick when you're broke.
Yeah.
Smoked all the way up there. Got lost. Got to Kerrville about 2:30 in the fucking morning. Dan didn't think I was gonna make it. I had the $700 from my mom for rent and deposit. He said, "Hey, you know, not a lot of crackheads could leave with $700 and make it where they gotta go with $700. Let's go." Too late for a UA. I made it.
Yeah.
Clear.
Wow.
Didn't, went in, met a few of the guys. Shout out to Bobby. Shout out to Thomas,
Bobby Pons?
No, not Bobby Pons.
Which Bobby?
Robert
Oh.
White.
Yes.
My man.
He's not Bobby anymore. He's Robert
he's
now.
Robert now.
Owns a treatment center.
Owns it. These guys got better, man. Yeah. And that was it. I stayed in the halfway house, got involved in everything, because back then, Joseph probably remembers, you were either in your early 20s or you were an old timer.
Yeah.
It seems like there was nobody in between that. Nobody 28 to 47. It was just young or old.
Yeah.
They taught
But
us.
if you were in your late 30s, you were old.
Yeah, true.
Oh, man, I feel old.
They taught us about service. They taught us about learning this book, and that's what I did. I learned everything in it so I could talk the talk and lie the lie.
Yeah. And that's the big, we've talked about Kerrville some, but like the style of recovery in Kerrville is very much like be of service, be of service, be of service. Find a way to make yourself useful, clean the ashtrays, sponsor guys, do the H&I, chair the meeting, get involved. Like
More action than talk.
yes. It's very
That's
much,
good.
it's that spiritual program of action piece. You hear that a lot in Kerrville.
Yeah. I'll never, and that was one of the things I'll never forget. And that's what pushes me today.
Yeah.
AA's got the circle and triangle, unity, service, recovery. There's 36 spiritual principles to live by.
Yeah.
Not just doing the 12 steps and sponsoring. Sponsoring isn't service. That's the 12th step.
Yeah.
Get involved in service. Do more than a home group. Go to district. Go to area.
Yeah. And so you did all that back then.
I did all that while getting fucking high, dude.
So the last 6 months of my story before getting sober were I had a home group. I was the H&I chair for my group. I was getting high every single day. But I was picking up dirty chips, doing the whole thing. And for me, that was my real bottom, like the spiritual bottom of I'm getting high the way I want to. I've got this facade going real good. Nobody knows. My mom thought I was sober. Both girlfriends thought I was sober, like the whole thing. And like I've never felt more alone than in that. Cause like I didn't even have like a little crew of druggies I was running with. Like it was me and the dealer. And the dealer is the only other person in the world that knew who I really was.
And then what would happen when one of your sponsees went back out? How did you feel?
Horrible. It's my fault.
Cannot transmit that which I don't have. It's my fucking fault he's dead. Shit, might
Yeah.
as well go out for the weekend.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
It
So you were doing that in Kerrville
Doing that?
and nobody knew.
Nobody knew. The Black Diamond saved my life.
Yeah.
Okay. 9 months, I think like 9 months sober. Well, 9th month. Anyway.
Yeah.
I was supposed to move to San Antonio, go with one of my drug dealers from Corpus. His nephew was up in San Antonio messing stuff up. He was a cagapalo.
Yeah.
And
That means shit stick is the literal translation.
literal fuck up. And Cody reached out to me and was like, hey, bud, I might want to start this little sober home. You want to come help out? I said, let me meditate on it. I'll get back to you. That really means let me make sure my plans aren't falling through. And the plans fell through. So I remember the phrase very clear. I called him back and I said, hey, green means go, bud. Let's do it. Let's save some fucking lives. And started the sober home. Started small, like I said, and then we grew into all these houses. And every 2-3 months, I'd find a reason to go back to Corpus and get fucking high. But while I was there, guys were getting sober. I was teaching them the shit in the book, teaching them how to be of service, teaching them what's right, what's wrong, AA etiquette, all of that fun stuff, dragging them. For months, we were Black Diamond was the only ones going to Starlight Adolescence, We even had a wave of like 5 or 6 kids got out of there and went to the house.
Old Payton?
Me and Payton. Yeah. Oh, I talked to him earlier today. He said to tell you he loves you and that toxicology with LK is not a word.
We made it a word. We made it a word.
It has meaning. Depth, weight.
Yeah.
And it was just fucking miserable, Speaking at all the treatment centers, miserable. Chairing all these meetings, started a CA meeting, started a Icky Paw group, miserable. Sponsees would die, my fault, miserable,
Yeah.
And it was like, I was always torn between, why can't I just say something about it?
Yeah.
Why can't I just, because that ego, that
You
show
gotta keep
had
up
to
that,
go.
because you were still Larry fucking Moe.
I was still Larry fucking Moe.
Yeah.
Larry Moe, Elmo. I had a red Tahoe with Elmo on the side.
I remember that. It was always breaking down.
Always breaking down. Always broken down. That's how I learned how to mechanic. People thought I was always a mechanic because they'd always see me working on it.
Yeah.
13 step to no gal, her and Cody had a falling out, so that means Cody and I had a falling out. I was asked to leave, still played the role for a little bit, and
Had a kid. Right?
had a kid. Yeah. It came out that I finally got honest about it, my bro, for 18, I was supposed to pick up 18 months, 3 days next.
Yeah.
And it came out. I was like, bro, I've been doing this the whole fucking time.
How'd it come out?
My son's mom and I went back to Corpus. She didn't even know, And I was like, let's go get fucked up tonight. You look like you want to get fucked up. Let's go. She was like, no, we can't. You're going to ruin your sobriety. They need you here. I live next to the watering hole.
Uh-huh.
I was like, let's go to the watering hole. We went over there and we got on the walkway and she was like, don't do it. I said, I'm going in with or without you. I went in, ordered double Crown and 7. I said, what do you want? She got some fruity shit. And she's just staring at me like, what the fuck is going on? This is, I'm about to ruin Larry Moe.
Yeah.
I slammed the first one, ordered another, slammed the second one. I was like, I've been doing this shit every 3 months, fool. Let's go get some crack. She's like, what the fuck? So we went.
Yeah.
And while I was down there, I reached out to, down in Corpus, I reached out to Thomas.
Mahaka?
Fucking Thomas. Love him to death. I reached out to Thomas. I'm like, hey, bud, I'm stuck in Corpus. You know, reached out to Cody, told him the same thing. Hey, I'm high. This is fucked up. I'm high. Yeah. When I got back to town, I had a welcoming party. Shane, Cody, Thomas, Big Greg. They were all out there at the apartment.
Yeah.
And I told them the truth. I was like, hey, dude, this is what's really been going on. You know, every 3 months I've been doing this. Yeah. All right, well, what do you want to do about it? Not a fucking thing, you know? And this went on and on. Then that's when the heroin came in.
Yeah.
I got an apartment, did my first shot of heroin, mixed with some Hep C. Let's fucking get it, you know? Balls to the wall. Went back to Corpus. Found out she was pregnant. Went back to Corpus.
Yeah.
I like to go up. I like to go fast. I don't fuck with Xanax. Beat a lot of friends up for taking it. Took a bunch of Xanax and I robbed a store.
Yeah. How much money you get out of this store?
Dog, I was sentenced to 12 years, Texas Department of Criminal Justice Correctional Institution Division. First felony ever. First real crime.
Yeah.
I got $19 fucking dollars.
$19 out of the till of a 7-Eleven.
Times market, yeah.
Xanax needs to put that on their warning label that this may make you commit armed robbery. Because it's not an uncommon story. I have a friend who I was in treatment with years back. I'm not sure where he is now, but he was walking down the street in his neighborhood, took a handful of Xanax, walked by a CVS, and ended up robbing the pharmacy.
Xanax makes
not planned.
Not planned.
So to our uninitiated listeners, Xanax, very often you wake up and there's just things that you didn't own before that now you all of a sudden own.
And things that you did own that are just not there anymore.
And your knuckles are bloody.
Knuckles are bloody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fighting and stealing.
Fighting and fucking stealing.
Brought to you by Xanax.
You can put that on a shirt.
Alprazolam.
So you go to prison before your child is born? Or
no,
after
I go to
born?
prison a month after my son's first birthday.
Were you there when your son was
I was
born?
there when my son was born. I was a scumbag.
You kept fucking up until you went to prison?
I kept fucking up till I went to prison. They gave me 10 years deferred.
Yeah.
They gave me 10 years deferred. We had 38 people show up in that courtroom for an open plea with the judge on character references.
Kerrville people.
No, some Kerrville people. Thomas came down. Black Jessica came down. She was the only... See, this is weird about Kerrville. Even if you're the only one of your name, you're going to be the black that.
Yeah.
We only had one Jessica. She was Black Jessica.
Yeah. I mean, we could get into a whole thing about like the inherent racism in some of the 12-step culture, but I don't think we got time to unpack
Not
all
at
that
all.
today.
You'll have to come back for that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, the judge gave me 10 years deferred, stopped it at about person number 18 and was like, all right, look, just bring in his mom, his baby mama, and his sisters. Let's get this over with.
Yeah.
I just want to hear what they have to say. Got 10 years deferred. Look back at all of those people. All they were asking was the 5 minimum because they knew it was a bogus case.
Yeah.
And I looked back at everybody and was like, dude, I'm going to fucking break all their hearts. Yeah. You know? I was on zero tolerance. Not in Corpus, zero tolerance. In Nueces County, zero tolerance probation was... they put that on for this certain gang in this certain neighborhood. Like, you do anything. This one guy had a pack of peanuts in his pocket. forgot, came back, didn't leave the store though, told the guy, hey, I got some peanuts too. Gave the guy his $1.07. Yeah. Guy called the cops. The guy got all his probation revoked and went to prison for 10 years. You know, I was on that.
And so you saw this room full of people, and part of you wanted to not get high anymore, but you knew that it was
that wasn't there.
No, you were still planning.
It was going. Just like I had this one shrink tell me I was semi-sociopathic.
We were just talking about sociopaths.
She said I was. She said I'm gonna call you semi-sociopathic. I said, what the fuck does that mean? She said it means you don't feel bad for the stuff you do to people, but you feel bad for them because you don't feel bad for what's about to happen. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of my thing. Yeah. You know? Didn't stay sober at all. I found this weird concoction of milk and bleach that I could stop using dope the night, 24 hours before I went, drink this milk and bleach, and then water all the day, a little more milk and bleach, shit my guts out, pass the test, and go right back to it. And that's what I did, you know? Had this job, great people, loved the hell out of me, turned that place into a shit show, had my kid, went outside, was on the phone with the girl from work I was hooking up with, just fucking
burning all over the ground.
Burning. Yeah. I made amends to someone after I got out, and they said something along the lines of something I heard you say years ago when you spoke at a meeting. And what you'd said was, the person told you, it's water under a bridge you've already burned.
My best friend from high school, when I made amends to him, he said, it's all water under a bridge that's already been burnt. That's exactly it.
I had one right along the lines of that. Yeah. But, messed up, got a new charge, PI pretty much, wrestling with the cops, was out with another gal, got locked up, they revoked it, sent me away. Sent me away for 12 years. And there was still no, what the fuck did I do? Yeah. None of that. It was just like, all right, part of the show. Yeah. You know, part of the show. Got in, quickly got plugged in with contraband. Yeah. You know, started with snuff. I'm not going into details, but I started with snuff, then cigarettes, then started to learn how to make hooch. Yeah. Hey, there's pot. Hey, there's meth. This is what I'm going to do.
In my head, I still see afro camo pants breaking the dress code because you fucking can.
Yeah. That's it.
Same thing.
Because I can. Yeah. Just because I can. Everything I did in there, there's people that are people. Yeah. There's somebody somewhere, and everybody knows that. And I didn't really fuck with them on the way that I behaved, but I should have been stabbed a lot of fucking times for my behavior. Yeah. You know, they everybody called me Mo, but every now and then when I got on that sauce, it was Larry fucking, I ain't no fucking Mo. My name is Larry fucking. I would do that and not remember it, and then on the way to the chow hall, I'd see people way across the yard. My name is Larry fucking Mosley. You know, it's still fucking there. That guy still wants to come out and play.
Oh, all right. So let's fast forward a little bit.
Get me sober.
Because I know let's get you there because we're running short on time. But so are you in prison when you decide like I'm really gonna try? Or is it after? When do you make the decision that got you here today?
That didn't come until October 2020. Yeah. Well, it was coming from the time my relapse started in June. Yeah. To October, it was coming. Yeah. It was like I made a big deal with God. I reached out to Cody from lockup on a contraband cell phone and said, hey, I don't want to come home like this. Yeah. Bro, I've been here 5.5 years. I've been fucking high the whole time. Yeah. I got out at 7 years. I came home with 11 months. Cody got me into work. I found RCIA, got baptized Catholic while I was locked up, got my associate's degree from a real school. Yeah. Still got debts. Got out 11 months sober. Involved in mass, involved in church, involved in 12-step in Corpus the best I could. Found some skirt. Yeah. Found some skirt, stopped it all. Spent the second year dry. Was going to kill myself. 2 days after my 2-year mark, made a deal with God. I said, God, I remember it all real clear. If you give me something to hold on to, I won't do this, but I need to go make sure I'm done before I go. When I left Kerrville, Vern came to my apartment.
Yeah.
Almost burned my eye out with this fucking cigar. He said, Mosley, you leave this fucking town. You leave this fucking town. You leave these rooms. You leave these women. You leave these halfway houses. You leave these treatment centers. You leave this fucking town. And you don't come back until you're done.
Yeah.
You're not going to be a yuppie picking up all these fucking key tags and chips, wasting my time or your time or anyone else's time. Get the fuck out of this town and don't come back till you're done.
That's a very Kerrville statement.
And that's what I made sure to do.
Here.
I made sure I was done. Was on the road traveling from Corpus, San Antonio, Marble Falls for work and heartache. Still on parole, still fucking up, still drinking milk and bleach. Parole's not hard when you're living right either. Yeah. Just want to say that. They don't want to put you back in prison. My PO let me, when I was living right, she let me live in San Antonio, all kinds of cool shit. But it got to where it was the end of it.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, this is, okay, I got to go back to Kerrville. This is the end of my run. I'm going to Kerrville now. 70 miles an hour, clipped a guardrail outside of Marble Falls. And I really am grateful for these EMTs, Blanco County. These guys, the cops came to get me. He was asking if I was all right. I kept reaching for these Gatorade bottles full of Four Locos, and he started roughing me up. EMT showed up, started roughing me up. I'm like, dude, you're supposed to be helping me. What are you doing? He dips me off behind the buggy and was like, do you have anything you need to be treated for? Because you don't look fucking good, and I don't want you to go to jail. I said, I got a fucking dog bite. It's infected. I said, get in the fucking truck. Told the other guy, hey, this guy needs help. Tell him what you need. I told the guy, I said, he's like, what do you need? I said, bro, Four Locos, crack cocaine. That's all that's in my system for 3 days. I'm dehydrated as fuck. I need an IV. I need to get on the road. I need to get to Kerrville. I got I don't know if you remember it. I got the black diamond tattoo. Yeah. He was like, why are you going to Kerrville? You going to Starlight? I was like, no, I'm going to fucking Kerrville. You going to Laha? No, why are you asking me all this? He said, because I got sober in Kerrville. Really? When? 09. Ego. Remember the black diamond?
Yeah.
He's like, you're Larry Moe. A little shit happened with this phone call with the girl that I was with. And he was like, bro, if that's real, I'm going to make sure you get to fucking Kerrville. He did some voodoo, got one of his buddies to get the keys from the cops that were there, drop it off at the dispatch station. The registration lady at the hospital stopped me on the way out and said, Taylor said, go get your keys from the sheriff's office. Call him when you get to Kerrville. And I fucking did. I went back, got those keys, got to Kerrville as fast as I fucking could, you know? And the driving force for part of that was I was watching a dude in a swimming pool while I was drinking mimosas. He was one of us. He was dying. He needed help. He needed a solution. I knew he was an alcoholic. I told the girl I was with, look, this guy's a fucking alcoholic. It came out, he's an AA. And I remember sitting in that pool feeling that spiritual death.
Yeah.
This guy doesn't know there's a way out, and I'm drunk as fuck right now and can't give it to him.
Yeah.
What the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
You know?
Because you knew enough.
I knew
enough.
You had tasted
enough.
I knew the truth.
Yeah.
Enough fucking deaths to know that this shit is real.
Yeah.
You know? Fatal, progressive and fatal. They always forget that part.
Yeah.
And I reached out to Cody. Hey, bud, I need a bed now. Come on down. The Black Diamond grew into a beautiful thing called Crossroads Sober Living for Men in Kerrville. It's been fucking thriving. And every now and then he would reach out to me while I was out. And it was all ego that I took it as, though. But he'd be like, bro, I just want to thank you for the shit you started all them years ago. We saved thousands of lives off of those same principles.
Yeah, they got like 40, 50 beds.
Yeah.
Point, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they're fucking rocking. I got into one of the Crossroads houses, and that was on a Sunday. I had a little bit of dope stashed in my car. I got my old job back, working ranch, and went to work Tuesday, had a little bit stashed in a spark plug box in the door, about a 30, snorted it, and I said, all right, let's go. You know, when I went to that first meeting, Shane was there, and I broke down. I fucking cried my eyes out to him. I'm like, dude, I'm exhausted. I'm miserable. I'm tired. And all he said was, I know, get to work. That was it.
Yeah.
I got to fucking work, you know?
So what's your life like today?
Today, my life is full. My life is full. Got this old gal that, I'm going to say it nationally, she 13-stepped the shit out of me. She's going to fucking hate it when she hears this. Either that or it was a 14th step. Go straight to banging old-timers. You know, she's got an 18 and a 19-year-old son that adore the shit out of me.
Yeah.
You know, they look up to me for help with their cars, for life, anything, you know. They declare all the time there's nothing that Larry can't fucking fix or make happen. Yeah. Deeply involved in service. I'm the fucking bilingual chair for District 12. Josh forced me into that shit.
Good.
He said there's no reason you could participate in Spanish gang meetings in prison for 7 years and not come out and chair a fucking AA meeting in Spanish, bitch. Yeah. Go down there and raise your hand. Raise my hand, and there it was. You know, I get to go visit places all around Texas every 2 months for area stuff. You said at the beginning, you said he's a good man. Yeah. It still fucks me up. That's the biggest thing that fucks me up, because you could have gone 2 years ago to anyone that knew me and not find one good thing to say about me. I can't, I'm hard pressed to go to one room and find one person that has anything negative or foul to say about me. Yeah. I get to watch these guys get fucking better, dude. So many people that are supposed to be dead all of a sudden are getting it. Yeah. And that's my second year of sobriety, has been watching people get better. Yeah. All these motherfuckers that I've sponsored that fucked off, they're never going to get it. They're going to die. They're better.
They're getting it.
They're becoming people again. You know, I got a boss that's happy to have me, you know, and he challenges the shit out of me. He was happy as shit that I called when I asked him for a job. You know, got there, found out I didn't know as much as I thought. But he's teaching me to fucking level up, you know. Yeah. Another guy that came in, broke like the rest of us, got his shit together. I got a little bit of shit going on with custody stuff with my son and my mom.
That was going to be my next question.
He's 11 years old. He's every bit of my fucking son, man. You know, I get home from prison from 7 years and not being with him, and it's like, how is he still just like me? Yeah. What the fuck? He's great. He loves the shit out of me. He doesn't really understand everything that's going on. A lot of family feuding going on behind the scenes, but, you know, it's, he's my fucking kid. He's great.
You
he's
can show
fucking
up now.
Mosley.
Yeah.
I can show up now. I didn't know, even in early sobriety, I still didn't know how to. Yeah. My first 4 months of sobriety was chasing skirts still. 5 girlfriends, still Sancho down in Corpus, got this going on, that. And I drug him along for a lot of it. My first year, you know, poor baby, put him through hell. His first year with his dad was fucked. Yeah. You know, but I was trying to parent the way I was parented, and it was horrible. Yeah. It was fucking horrible, brutal. But I've made amends with him. We talk about it a lot, about those dark times, and he said, I know, Dad, but I know you're going to get it. Yeah. I know you're going to get it. He's fucking great.
Oh, man. That's cool. That's cool. Well, we're out of time. We're out of time. That's, you know, we like to wrap up the show with a little something that we call rapid fire questions. So without any further ado, it's rapid fire question time.
It's rapid fire question time.
You want to go first?
Sure.
You go first.
Ben and Jerry's gives you a call.
Son of a bitch.
And they say, we want to give you an ice cream flavor. And it can't be milk and bleach.
Okay.
What is your signature ice cream flavor and the name of it?
The flavor would be homemade vanilla with dulce de leche inside of it with Butterfinger bits.
Nice.
The name
sounds
of it,
really good.
And the name of it is Crack Rocky Road.
Oh, that's so good. That's a good one.
Man.
All right. Without thinking, without looking at your phone, how many days have you been sober?
What if I cheated before I came in?
Oh, you son of a bitch.
I failed 751.
No, you came prepared.
I listened to the show.
No one's ever come prepared.
Nice. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. If there is one song that you could go the rest of your life without hearing,
Oh, that's a new question.
it is. I threw a curveball since I know it was. What song would that be?
Without listening. Oh, I just had it. I just fucking had it. Good Directions by Dierks Bentley.
Oh, that's like the worst kind of country. Dierks Bentley. You don't know about Dierks Bentley?
No, and I'm not going to listen to find out.
It's better that you don't know. Oh, man, I'm super unprepared for this. I just want to ask more questions about food.
Go ahead.
No, let's do... Who's your favorite Ninja Turtle and why?
I don't know the name, but the one with the swords. And why? Because that motherfucker had swords.
Leonardo. That's Leonardo.
Leonardo. Okay.
Last one.
And, you seem to have a little bit of inner peace to you.
Uh-huh.
What's the secret?
I had a spiritual awakening as a direct result of working these fucking steps. I keep a conscious contact with my fucking creator through work and self-sacrifice for others. And I ask God every day to help me be understanding and effective as possible. And it's just there.
Oh, man.
Wrong. No, I'm just kidding.
All right. Well, the last thing we do before we wrap things up is we give you the opportunity to just say your last piece. You know, if you want to plug something, if you want to shout something out, if you want to drop a little bit of wisdom for folks who are listening at home. Oh, man. The floor is yours.
Guys with gals, don't ever stop trying to impress her. And all of you that are fucking hurting right now, that are miserable, that are cutting and are ashamed of it, that try to kill yourself and that are ashamed of it, don't think there's a way out. You don't ever got to fucking feel like that again. I've been there. We've been there. We say it over and over. And you don't ever have to do it again. You can be done for good and for fucking all.
Love it. Well, that brings us to the end of our show. Larry, thank you again so much for coming out and visiting with us. Thank you all for watching and listening. Don't forget to like, follow, share, subscribe, review, put it on your Facebook, tell your friends. Toxicology, greatest podcast in the universe. And as we like to say here, there's 1,000 ways in.
1,000 ways in.
And 1,000 ways
There's
out.
also 1,000 ways out.
And we hope you find yours.
Stop in Kerrville.
Da-na-na-na.